Hey guys, Matt, IronTrap Garage, and today we're going to be working on the Sweet Heart Roadster again. So last time you may remember we had a huge rewarding day where I got the 32 Firewall all cut down and fitting into the Model A, and it looked awesome. Now this part of the project is going to be the not so fun part. Now we just basically need to like connect all the dots and make it attached to the car, and also we need to test fit the Cadillac engine, see where it sits, and kind of get an idea of exactly what we're going to need to do to modify the 32 Firewall to fit the engine in and trans in and everything. So we'll see what we're going to get with this. Like I mentioned in the other video, I've never done this before, so I'm figuring this out as we're shooting the video, so be kind, please. Alright, so first things first, gonna have to cheat, quote unquote, and use the laser to try and, I need to get this firewall centered. I threw it in there just for the end of the video, but I didn't actually check to see if it was centered. So we're gonna need to turn this guy on. I found that these laser levels are like a lifesaver. Sure, you can do it without them, but with how cheap they are nowadays, it's almost doesn't make sense not to do it this way. So I made a center line on my dash that started from the center hole in the dashboard, and I just traced my line up over the dash rail so that I could line it up with my laser. And then of course we have our center mark in the front cross member that we know is center of the frame. By shooting those 2 points right there, that should get me pretty much where I need to be. And I can already see I pretty much got it set up. Maybe move it up. I'm probably gonna mess myself up here moving it. Oh, yeah. So don't touch the laser. You're good, Andrew. Don't touch the laser. I might need your help actually. Let's try and get this firewall, if you can help me here. Right about there, pretty darn close. So let's clamp it in and stand back. It's getting there. I think the bottom's tiny bit off. I don't know. I think it needs to go this way. Passenger side just a little bit, just a hair. What do you think? You probably have to stand in the back to really see it. Looks to me you gotta.
Yeah, it's hard to tell if up top if it's like crooked.
Well, I think it needs to be pulled a little bit.
Whoa. That's like perfect when you get
Yeah, I think the bottom, just the way we have it clamped, I think it's like pulling it at the bottom a little bit, but the top looks pretty good, right?
it. Top looks pretty close.
What if I take,
That's how I was thinking, move that in.
so we need to pull that side up to get it to, now we're,
So now it went, I don't know.
yeah, now we just need,
Well,
that's darn close.
yeah.
It's just off a tiny bit at the bottom, and it might just be how we're clamped.
Could be the radius of how we cut it, could be anything.
Yeah, well, I think it's actually how it's clamped.
Yeah.
I think if you just pull on it a little bit, that very little at the bottom would probably move over.
Yeah.
But I'm mostly concerned about the money shot, which is here to here. Make sure this is pretty about the same. It's about the same with how far it's set back. Alright, so we're going to use some 3/16 clecos. Andrew has them in his hand there. Usually when we're doing sheet metal work, I use 1/8" clecos. They're smaller diameter, obviously. But because we're trying to hold this firewall together, I want the larger diameter to help us a little bit. So we're going to put 2 little clecos in that are going to help us locate this, because we're going to take this firewall in and out like 300 million times, and we don't want to have to set the laser up every time. So, does that still look good for center there?
Yeah, it still looks good to me.
Oh, son of a bitch.
What?
Ah, I'm a dick.
Did you miss?
Yeah, it hit, but it's like dangerously close. Alright, second time's a charm. The outside hole. Son of a gun. Never said it was perfect. Close to. Yes, perfect. Good. All right, this time we're not gonna have faux. All right, there we go. So now we don't have to rely on the laser. I think it's, keep pushing. I think it's a burn. There you go. It's a little burn beneath the other plate to off with that. Good. Top's still hitting where we want. Good. That looks good. All right. Step one, make it easy to take it in and out. Back now, right? Down more. Alright.
A little bit down, probably. It's already gonna be hitting it.
Oh, we gotta put it down so it's engine now.
And now you can come back to only the transmission and close off hub. So we're on the we're sitting down now, pretty much.
Hands right.
Yeah. I mean,
So
lift up on it.
yeah, what I was hoping is,
See, this is where we're gonna run into problems. We almost need to pull that mount off.
yeah, you're probably right. And then we could put a floor jack underneath and support the tail shaft and let it slide back to wherever we want it to be. But we're going to be close. It's going to almost clear the bottom there. But don't go up much.
I just want to touch it.
You know, I want to go down a little more too, possibly. So,
Well, with the front.
okay. Yeah, I understand. Right there.
Yep.
Now,
So let me just, I'll keep downward pressure on this tail piece.
the only problem is that jack's not going to want to.
I can spin.
We got tons of room now. And we're like right on the hole. So, like I'm like almost lined up with the holes here for the motor mount. And look how much room we have to go back. And see, we're like right on those mounts.
So here's my, maybe we trim this up in this mount.
Yeah, I'm thinking that. I'm just wondering if we let it drop down so we can slide it back and see where it wants to sit. And then I could put the grill on and get an idea that we have enough room.
Let the tail.
Yeah,
trans sit
yeah,
down.
yeah, yeah.
Here, ready?
Just a little bit. Just enough to, right there. All right, so we have the engine pretty darn close. Now we're just trying to like half-ass cobble it together just to see how close we all are with where I had the firewall. So you can see now my engine mount here that I made is almost lined up with the mounting hole in there where it needs to mount. It could probably go back another, inch maybe, but that's basically where the engine used to sit. But you can see we have tons of room here to go back without even, doing anything to the firewall. So we're gonna move the engine back just temporarily and try and get it so it's basically almost touching the firewall. And then we can see where we're at for our fan orientation. We're almost definitely gonna have to trim, but I'm hoping we don't have to trim as much as I thought, because we may only have to just trim this little lip right down in here where it's already got kind of a concave shape for the original flathead trans. we may be able to just trim that a little bit, and that might get us where we need, I'm hoping. Fingers crossed. So we're gonna work on that, but that's where we're at now. Again, look at all this room. Yes. Alright, so I'm pretty much sitting on the frame here. So if you let that trans down just a little bit, I know it's not even, but just to get me slid back. So. Right there.
Oh! Too much. Just a tip. Actually, that might be.
Alright. Well, that's where we want it to be. I just gotta find it. So go. I'm gonna center this, and then you get your jack under it. Go. Whatever you just did, push me forward. Hold on. There we go. Ready? I'll push up, and then you. Under? Oop.
I'm like almost up enough.
Right there. Don't do any more. And now you're pushing up on it.
Yeah, just
So we're pretty much like, we're about where we were before.
It's still sitting way ass down that you.
Oh, I know. That's no problem because we're gonna cut that out. But I don't want to cut anything till we're happy. I'm just trying to get this engine to kind of just sit so we can. So now, this side I can get my hand in between. That side I can. Oh, what'd you just do?
I was trying to get this to sit a little better.
Whatever. It was sitting good. So when you jack, I'm just thinking out loud here. When you jack that ass end up, it's actually going to give us more room to go back. Because as it goes like this, it's going to tilt and give us more room.
Yeah,
so
but
that's so right.
You're losing height.
Well, I know we're going to cut that. We already know that. But what I'm saying is, right now I can barely get my hand in between. So when you jack that up to get the engine level,
the whole thing
it'll give us a little more movement. And right now, we're like.
But this is also going to swing down. So you're going to be.
It's going to swing this out. So I think
we're probably right behind the cross member here.
it's super close.
Yeah.
Like I think if we're lucky and everything works out, the way this swings up will let us swing back a little bit, which will give us just enough room to clear the radiator.
I would agree.
So I think what we need to do next, so I think we're on the right track. So I think what we need to do next is pull the engine out, pull the firewall out, cut a nice centered like notch out of the firewall. Because I think if we cut up to here,
Yeah.
I think that'll give us what we need, I'm hoping. And then it won't look funny because it'll just match what's already kind of originally there.
Yeah, it looks like that's like. That's why I like that indent.
Yeah. That would be perfect. So, yeah, I think this might just get what we want. We're lucky. Okay, so we got the engine hanging out. Got a dangle in there. And so wanted to show you guys a better shot. This factory indent that's right here on the 32 firewall looks about like all that's hanging us up. So I'm thinking if we could trim basically this lower lip off and then trim up into here to get rid of this indented section there, and just make like a little like tunnel section. I think that might be enough. So I want to be careful and only cut it little bits at a time. But so I'm thinking if we somehow follow the line down and cut this whole bottom lip off both sides and then cut up around this radius, that looked like it was really darn close to what we need. And then as we jack the trans up and get the engine level again, we'll find out. But we want to first try and get this thing sitting back far enough that we know we can get a radiator in. Just got to sand the burr off. I think that drill bit's like one size. Yep. I got it. Like that. Stay just below the go. Cut all that mess out. That'll be a start. Sweet. Sand it up back and we'll be good. All right, let's test it. All right, you want to grab the clecos? Yeah. I guess we could just slide the engine in and then put the firewall over top of it. That might be a smarter.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
Huh?
I mean, for notches, right? Right?
You're the boss.
I might be the boss, but I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Doesn't mean anything. Winging it.
All right, we're done.
Let's see.
Yeah, what? This is from no firewall. How's that?
Yeah.
It's got a piece of plexiglass.
Let's see. You want to go up on that thing to get a little higher. Maybe there. Put it on the tail shaft. You're going to have to change the angle. The jack can hold far up. It looks about like where we had it.
Yeah, I'm still gonna need to come up.
All right, go
Back
ahead.
here.
Hold on. You do it back a little more.
The jack's hitting the X member now. So I need to jack up from a different point. Hold on.
Let's try right there, go up a little more.
That's sitting right in above that X member, like the drive shaft would be. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Alright.
Might be a little crooked yet, but.
Well, the engine's gonna go up just a little bit, I think, because there's got to be rubber mounts under there. But
That's better. That makes me a lot more happy.
okay. I found that if it's a tight fit, it's better to, with the cleco, it's better to spin it.
Yeah.
Probably just need to run that little bit through and open it up there. Or every time we do it, we're close.
It's just, well.
Well, the end is probably not,
crooked.
it's probably not centered either.
We got like a ½ an inch, 3/4 of an inch of clearance of height.
But we can still go way further back.
Oh yeah.
All right, so we got the engine a lot closer now, and we're like super close to having it where I want it. I think we still need to go back just a little more, but what we're finding is the amount that we cut here is not too bad actually. I think we're on the home stretch because the bell housing on the block doesn't really get any bigger here, so we have plenty of clearance right here. I can get my hand under. That's good. But what we're doing is we're hitting on the corners. So this thing's obviously not straight yet, we're just dangling. So what I need to do is actually take the radius out into here. So I think just to make it look more natural, I'm gonna take the little ear off. Like so, I'm gonna do from here, we're gonna go down and meet with this radius that's right here just to make it look a little more natural. And that'll go like that. So we'll do that on both sides. It's hard to me to get here, but come up like that. Something like that, I'm not sure yet, but we're gonna do something like that. Then when we get these ears cut off, then that'll allow us to slide it back as far as we want and get it all situated. Whammo. All the restoration guys cry at once. Don't do that. So you put the feet in. All the way down. And okay, now that I have the engine pretty much sitting where I want, and you can see the fan is just behind the cross member there, which is pretty normal, and we have a bunch of room, not a bunch of room, we have room behind the heads, but the engine has moved back quite a bit, probably 2 or 3 inches here, and I have grabbed out of the stash. I always buy cheap 32 radiators when I can find them. I usually keep them for the tanks, so when I'm getting a custom radiator made, I like to use original tanks and mix them up to make something that'll work. The other reason I like to keep them around is I have this B radiator that I got for probably less than 25 because it's marked at 25. But it's a B radiator, which is great for an overhead valve engine. And what I'm going to do is actually, by myself here again, school night for Andrew, so he had to go home. But you guys can see, we got something like that, with it centered about in the cross member there. We got a good bit of room there around everything, so really happy with that. So we got plenty of room down there as far as the clearance to the radiator goes, so that's probably about perfect as far as I'm concerned for the distance for the fan. So that's mission accomplished. That was really the problem we were having, is their engine was just a little too far forward, and would have never been able to fit a radiator in there. So we got plenty of room now. We got the engine sitting about where we want, and we have clearance with the firewall. I just need to move the firewall around just a little bit more to get it sitting so that it's like straight up and down. It looks like we're actually sitting in just a little bit at the bottom, so we may need to play with moving the top back just a little bit to get it so it sits, so it's 90 degrees with with how I want it. So that's just a little fiddling we'll do. That's going to take a little time, but overall, engine's in, firewall's in, it clears around the bell housing. We got a fan that fits with a stock radiator. Puzzle pieces are coming together. Now it's just a whole bunch of time of me just fiddling around with getting stuff to fit just a little better, and then we can work on our flanges for the sides there on either side. So getting close. All right, so we got the engine and the trans all bolted into the car. It was like a whole day's worth of work, which is how it goes. Not a lot to show you guys. We just basically moved the mounts back. What was it? 2 7/8 is what it ended up at. And then we moved the trans mount back the same. We re-radiused it so it fit all good, drilled new holes. It's in, it's square, it's level. We're happy. So we're gonna fit the firewall and test fit the radiator and the grill to make sure that everything sits how we want. So, stock 32B radiator for a 4-cylinder. Good.
Where are we hooking this to?
You don't need to hook that up.
Okay.
We got the radiator hooked up, so we'll just once it's over. Put that in here. Plenty of room.
Heck yeah.
It's perfect. All right, we'll pick the camera up, show you guys. Jostle you around for a second. All right. So I just threw the radiator on. The grill's sitting a little crooked. This because the B radiator has a little bump at the bottom. But what I want to show you guys is plenty of room there, which is great. If I was going to be picky, the fan sits just a hair low. I'll have to figure out if I want to deal with that or if I'll just live with it in the radiator. But we got plenty of room here, which is good. We actually have some room in the back there. Now we do have to play a little bit with the angle of the steering of the firewall. I think it actually needs to come out. It sits pretty close like that, but overall sits good, and that's what we're looking for. Right about there. So much happier with how this sits in the engine bay. I think it looks better. We still got the grill pretty much centered in the frame in the cross member here, instead of putting it out in front. Moving the engine back, even though it was a lot of work, seemed to work pretty good. So yeah, we got everything sitting how we want. Pretty happy with that. Next time what we need to do is work on just getting some feet made for the firewall and work on actually making the firewall bolt in. So we're going to work on making some new feet for the side, getting that all fit so that it bolts to the frame, and finishing up this job. This is not a small feat to get this done here with this engine and the radiator and all that stuff. So really happy with how it's coming out. But that's all we have for this one. Appreciate you guys following along. As always, we do videos on Tuesdays, Fridays, and Sundays, and make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks guys. See ya.